And so we meet again. It is the Mando Footloose. This time the IM, much quieter than the other one I tested. This one doesn't fold. There are a couple versions. It's kind of the same as the new one that folds, but feels a little bit more rigid, which is nice because this is kind of a smaller bike. You know, it might fit in your closet a little bit easier, especially if you took the seat post out. Gives you that really ultra modern look and is very unique because this is a series hybrid electric bike, meaning that when you turn those pedals, you're not actually connected to the rear wheel in any way. You're just charging a battery, which of course you'd also want to plug in before you go for a ride, because it's not super duper efficient in my experience. It's kind of like if you made it a workout machine with the body of a bicycle. But again, with this thing off, you hop on, you turn those pedals, nothing happens. You're just sitting there, you're standing there. So again, series hybrid, you charge the battery runs the motor. It offers pedal assist, it also offers a trigger throttle. But before I get there, you know, a moment ago I was talking about kind of folding versus not. I love that this one's a little bit more stiff, but it's still fairly, it's kind of like bendy feeling. It's not really stiff or rigid. You know, if you shake the frame like this, like there's a little bit of crack the whip going on towards the rear, and that's because it's fairly heavy back here. You know, you've got this big mono arm thing on one side, these big kind of cast wheels, maybe magnesium, I think, you know, very solid, and they aren't going to go out of true, which is nice, but they're also kind of heavy. And then the motor is in here with this kind of metal cap on it. It's a 250 watt dual winding, I think it's direct drive, gearless. It's pretty quiet, but it also freewheels really nicely. There's not a lot of drag, so I'm not sure. I couldn't really open that up. 250 watt dual winding is what they say. That's the official word. The last time I reviewed one of these Mando bikes, I complained that, oh, you know, gosh, it'd be a real pain to try to get this wheel off if you had to change a flat. And then everyone in the comments was like, dude, you don't have to take the wheel off at all because they don't have, you know, two arms holding it. Well, this one, the front wheel does. You can see it's kind of got a fork. This sounds metallic. I think it was carbon fiber on the other one. It has a quick release. Awesome. This is traditional wheel, and you know, you take it off. It's 20 by 2 inches, so a little bit wider, gives you some cushion, I suppose. Got the nice reflective sidewall. Schwalbe, Big Apple, those should have some good puncture protection. It's good tires, but back here, it does have the mono arm, and you probably would be able to kind of deflate the tire, deflate the tube, and then, you know, take off the tire and replace the tube that way, basically service a flat. So great point. I definitely heard you, and I appreciate the feedback because I was confused. I was like, man, like I actually read the instructions for this bike and realized that they recommend that you don't take this off. You're not supposed to mess around with it. And I imagine it's a fairly complex and delicate system. We've got nice fenders here. Maybe I'm being liberal with the word nice. I think they're kind of cheapy, you know, that you can see them vibrating there. I didn't hear them a lot when I was test riding this thing, but I'm also not really going over a whole lot of bumps. It's nice that it has fenders. It's going to keep you clean, and again, it's sort of that ultra modern look that they're going for here. It does have disc brakes. They're mechanical. Kind of got these generic levers. I think on the other bike that I checked out, it had like Avid rotors and calipers and stuff down here. This looks generic again. I measured this with like a digital micrometer or whatever, and it's a 140 millimeter disc rotor in the front, very unique size, and in the back 160. Okay, so you've kind of got different disc sizes. If you had to service these brakes, you kind of work around this arm here. Cables are integrated really nicely going through the frame. Really beautiful. Again, I can't say enough about the aesthetic being interesting. Not sure it's my style, but it's cool. It's definitely unique. These big plastic platform pedals, very cool. Mando Footloose branded Celly Royale saddle, and they've even got these Celly Royale lights integrated in here, which are pretty nice. Here, if we check out this front one, there's that little silver button. When you push it, it says Infini. When you press that, there you go. You get the light going. There's dim, there's flashing. So cool. Comes with lights. They aren't integrated meaning they're not going to run off of the main battery pack, so you're going to have to replace the batteries separately over time as they eventually wear out, and it'd be easier to forget and accidentally leave them on and have them wear out, which might have been what happened with the rear one. It doesn't seem to be working right now. The battery that powers the bike is really cleanly integrated. It's right here in this sort of top tube, and I would call this a mid-step. You know, if you look at the frame, it's not exactly a low step, but it's also not a high step. So it's going to be a little bit easier to, you know, kind of approach this thing and put your leg over. You know, it doesn't seem like it'd be really easy to put a rack on the back, in part because this uses a really sort of like wide seat post. And it's actually a seat post suspension, so you can see up here, the seat goes up and down like as you're going over bumps, and it adds some comfort because these wheels, again, 20-inch wheels being sort of small, they sort of like fall into cracks and bumps versus spanning them with a much larger like 700C wheel. So keep that in mind. Again, the suspension seat posts, really like that. They included that. Works pretty well. Doesn't have a traditional kickstand. It has this really funky and, in my opinion, annoying little tripod thing, and you can adjust these arm things, like you pull them down and then kind of tuck them in on the top. It's just annoying, in my opinion. It keeps it fairly stable, I guess, but it's not real convenient to do. And you saw the scratch on the other side of this bike. That I don't know if it tipped or something earlier when someone else was test riding it, but once you start to nick up the frame, this is just plastic here, and then this is probably aluminum. This seems to be aluminum, and again, maybe magnesium or aluminum back here. So it's a 50-pound bike. I weighed it. The website says 48 pounds. It's pretty heavy for kind of a small, sort of portable bike, and there's not like a whole lot you can do in terms of adjustment with your reach. I think you can kind of raise and lower the seat post, and that's about it. I like that they've got these sort of padded. They're actually kind of firm, but they're semi-ergonomic, kind of premium-looking grips here. I love that the display panel is actually removable. Check that out. So if you are parking this outside or storing it or something, you can take that off and reduce the wear that it gets from weather. And I think that's a pretty good, quick intro. I did want to call out that, basically how this works. The battery is removable. You do the quick release on the seat like that, and let's pull this up. Okay, there we go. Almost got the seat post out, and then that plastic thing kind of clicked out. We'll get to that in a second. So the seat post diameter here is 34.9, so it is millimeters. 34.9 millimeters is a little bit larger. Kind of interesting, and it was pretty tight. You can see the metal scratches happening there. You come back here and you pull on this plastic thing, and the battery starts to slide out. Now, remember, a moment ago I was saying you can charge the bike with this little power port here, kind of behind or under the down tube, and then you take the battery out, which should make the bike a little bit lighter. Or maybe you want to charge this inside and leave the bike in the garage, or just store it inside. It's going to do best if you keep it in a cool, dry location. Extreme heat and extreme cold are bad, and they say check it every few months, top it off if it's under 30%, and I would agree with that. Again, about 36 volts. I think it has the exact 36.2 volts, 8 amp hours on this pack. Lithium-ion cells, so relatively lightweight, compact. That's totally new bike battery technology. Good stuff. The downside to this battery pack is that there's no charging port on it. You actually have to use this extra little cap thing. You have to take that off, and you have to slide this on, and then there's your little charging port again. Okay, so a little bit extra hassle there, and just another part that could potentially get lost. Here's the charger. It's 2 pounds. It's got a fan. It's kind of like an aluminum case. Nice little metal end piece so that it's not going to crack. That's good. And then this one has an adapter because it's actually a European model. So there's a quick overview on all of that. Right now the bike's, it's kind of all taken apart and ready for storage or transport. And it would be even easier to move if you took off that front wheel with the quick release. So yeah, it's very cool. I might take a minute, put all the parts back in, and then we can keep going. Okay, I got the battery all back in. I did weigh it a second ago. It's about 4.2 pounds, so, you know, not super heavy. Again, using quality lithium-ion cells, and I believe this does have a 2-year warranty, which is solid. I'm going to show you how these little foot stand, kickstand things work now. You kind of pull it down, it's spring-loaded, swivel it, and then kind of pull it up again, and then it snaps into place. So, theoretically, and maybe on paper, it sounds like an awesome idea, but they're just really hard to, I know I'm only using one hand here, but it's annoying. It's like hard to get. There we go. There we go. Awesome. This is a lot more work and bending down and doing that whole thing than just kicking, right? Even if you know, pulled this up and reach down here, it's just extra work that could get dirty and wet over time. I'm not a big fan of that design element. Also, in the instructions it said don't push the bike backwards. I think that might be bad for the drive system. And, you know, given the loud noises on the other Mando Footloose that I reviewed, I'd adhere to that and maybe read the full instruction manual before you go out. I looked into it and was fairly thorough, but there's just a lot of details. So this is an example of it's not on. So I'm pedaling, but the bike's not gonna move, right? I'm just coasting here because I got a little push start a second ago. So if the battery ever expired on you or something, this is what it'd be like. Like you really have to get off, just kind of push the thing around. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I got the display put back onto the bike a second ago, and it must have like a battery built in or something. It probably powers itself off of that main battery to stay topped off. I'm just gonna go ahead and turn on the display. It is backlit. You can see it come to life and play a fun little song. And then it's got a few different readouts here. I hope you can see that. You know, it's fairly bright where I'm at. I'm gonna go to find some shade. There we go. Okay, yeah, now you can probably see that better. So what we've got here is sort of like your setting up here for automatic versus manual, because you can kind of fine tune the settings. I'm just going to leave it at automatic. Eco, and there are 3 levels of kind of, I guess, how much energy the bike is using. Eco is obviously like using the least amount of energy, but not going to be quite as peppy. I'll arrow down to that by pressing select. There we go, and now I'm on eco, and now I can hit mode and cycle through those. So we've got health, which is like an energy workout program, again like an elliptical machine. Normal, sporty, which is going to use the most energy from your battery, and eco. I'm going to leave it on eco, hit select again, and it takes me down here to kind of the difficulty, so how hard it is to push down on those pedals. I'm going for soft, because even soft is kind of uncomfortable in my opinion, but you can also go to medium or hard. Now, the discomfort here isn't because it's physically taxing. I mean, I'm in good shape. I ride bikes, I do cardio and stuff. Like, it's not a problem to pedal. It's just that the pedals aren't real smooth. Like, down is, you know, it's like energy, like you're pushing it, and then the bike takes off because it does have a cadence sensor, and it sort of matches your output with the pedals with the motor. So it's sort of giving you a gentle incentive to pedal and kind of charge that battery. I still don't think you're nearly as efficient as if you just had a chain, okay? And I'm almost sure of that, because it's converting your physical energy into electricity, and then it's transporting. It's just not, I don't think it's as efficient, but I'm not scientifically able to prove that at this moment. What you're supposed to be getting with this, like, I think the dream, like the vision behind this bike is, it's like, imagine if you could always pedal at the same pace, no matter if there was a hill or wind or what, you're just pedaling and the bike does the rest. And in fact, if you need extra help, you've got a little throttle right there. That's the vision. But in reality, because of the drive system here, because of this like wonky, like like that's how it feels to pedal. It's more like marching, and it's not fun. instead of having it be smooth like a bicycle. Now that's my opinion, okay? I like the feeling of like momentum in your pedals, and even workout machines like an elliptical where there's some rhythm. Some people like stair climbers and stuff, and for them it's like cool, that's fine, but there is a little bit of surge because of that. So as I said before, this kind of the pedal sensor, when you push hard, it goes a little faster. So you end up feeling like fast, slow, fast, slow, fast, slow. So for me, it's just uncomfortable. I don't really like that very much. But it does, charge the battery like it's supposed to. And right here, it says how many calories I've burned. And there's even like a little meter eventually that says how much energy you've generated. And up here, we've got our speed and our distance. Okay, so kind of everything you'd expect from a little cycle computer. And it works, it's easy enough to kind of select and arrow through here and pick different modes. But I'm going to go back into soft mode here for you. I'm going to pedal. I can use more muscles here, but like, trying to smooth it out by actually using my ankle to carry it through those, that trough and then that peak where it tends to slow down. But it still feels to me very like rare, like not smooth. Okay, so I'm kicking off a little bit. So, you get the idea. It's a lot quieter than the other Mando Footloose I tried, the older version. It works. You can see it's powering the bike along. I'm feeling the burn. I'm feeling a little bit of a workout from pedaling because it's a very constant feeling, unlike a normal bike where you pedal a couple strokes and the bike coasts. This one, it's like you're always pushing at a really consistent output, and it's not super easy, even in soft mode, in my experience. So I guess that kind of sums it up, gives you some idea. I think this is just a really quirky bike that's maybe made by people who don't spend a lot of time with like regular bicycles, and maybe they brought an idea in, like, what if we made like a human transporter that let you pedal like a workout machine, and of course we'll use wheels, and it's kind of like a bike, but it's a series hybrid that we're working with. And I just think the inputs are weird. If this was like a fun elliptical, like the Precor machines, the AMT machines that they have at the gyms, those are fun. I work out on those. It's great. It feels good. And if I was doing that and it was charging a battery and moving me along, maybe I'd prefer it to a bicycle because I could stand up, or I could get a more consistent energy burn, and I'd get the feedback from the calorie meter and all that. That's fine. That's kind of a cool idea. Maybe someday I'll get it right. But for now, this thing just feels awkward to me. And, again, the style seems to have taken a precedent over comfort. And, they call this thing here like the human machine interface. And that's sort of like a buzz term right now in software development and all that, like human computer interface. And it's like futuristic, but there's a human trying to ride this bike, and it just feels a little awkward to me at times. So I'm gonna finish out by like doing the throttle and show you the motor again. You can hear the motor a little bit in the back there. Could even kind of hear the motor skipping a little bit when I was going over those bumps. So that is the Mando Footloose IM. Again, a little bit cheaper than the other one, like $2,700 for the full write-up on this, with more pictures, all the details and everything. I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. And just like last time, maybe I missed something, and with the tire being able to change a flat without taking the wheel off, maybe I'm not getting this bike. If you own it and you have something to add, like do a video response, or hit the forums or something. I appreciate the feedback. My time's been limited with this, but I did read the instructions, trying to get it right. So I hope it helps you guys, and I'll see you next time.